Absolutely. So my name is Ariel, Hitron, co-founder and CEO of SecondNature. SecondNature been around for quite a bit of time, a few years. And what we do is we provide a platform for sales productivity. We do that through role play with an AI. And that helps solve for three main cases. The first one is onboarding of anyone who's customer facing, whether they're sales, an SDR, a customer success, anyone that's customer facing and needs to have conversations as part of their job. How do you get them into the moment of proficiency faster? How do you condense the time for readiness and the time to onboard? And how do you get them to a high level of confidence? So that's like one part of what we do. The other part is how do we help align messaging across an entire sales team or revenue team or customer facing team. That's especially applies in larger teams, say 50 to a few thousand reps. And that's mainly applies when you have a new product, when you have a new message, when you have a new pricing, when you have a new promotion. Aligning a large sales team is often a challenge. I'd say the third part that we're helping with is solving performance issues. So you have your sellers or you have your service agents, and some of them are great, some of them are not so great. How do you identify who's great and who's not? And then how do you help each one of them in a personalized manner to get up to speed and improve their performance? I'd say those are the three buckets that we help with. And we typically partner with companies with large sales teams, as I said, or large customer facing teams. Those can be tech companies like Checkpoint, like SAP, like Adobe, like others. Or it can be more traditional companies with a much simpler sales process. So we work with a few of the largest insurance companies in the world. They have tens of thousands of agents. How do you onboard them effectively? Okay, those kind of challenges, we help them as well. And that's much similar to a call center setup, much less the more B2B sales. It's more of a B2C sales. Those are the main markets that we play in. I think, yes. I think that in early stage startups, there's definitely a need for a tool that would provide, or a platform that would provide guidance on best practices. The thing with technology, you can bundle together best practices with a functionality. And I think that when you work with a large enterprise, say for example Zoom, okay, a customer of ours, they have 20 people in enablement, they have outside vendors that provide sales methodology, they have experts that went from Salesforce, Microsoft, you name it. There's a lot of knowledge in the organization already. They don't need us to come and preach them best practices, right? But they still might take a template from MedPick or Medic and use it out of the box. I think that on a startup, it's even more so they're inclined to use something that's already ready and out of the box with the best practices of Medic, Band, Champ, Winning by Design, you name it, that's already there, if they can easily customize it to their needs. So for us, we have that solution. We haven't been marketing that too much for startups just because we have a bigger opportunity with larger companies. I think it's a critical part of the revenue organization as a whole. I think that right now it's leaning more towards revenue enablement versus sales enablement. There's this whole discussion about that. I think that it's another lever in the disposal of the chief revenue officer in reaching their goals. And that can be the team that's responsible for identifying where are the areas of improvement jointly with sales ops. It can be the team that provides the tooling for like what tools should we use. There's so many sales technology out there, revenue technology out there. How do you pick and choose? How do you run a process, evaluation process, etc.? It's a team that makes sure the platforms are being used. It's a team that can help create consistency. But eventually it really depends on how strong of a relationship they have with the revenue leaders who are actually calling the shots. I think that we're in the early innings of AI rollout. Like, you think about, we've been around before ChatGPT, before OpenAI was out in the market, before their public beta. So we've seen how this transition is happening, and I think everybody knows we're in accelerated mode. What's happening, like in the last couple of weeks with the 4.0 announcement with the Gemini Plus, is already very different than a month ago. And not to imagine what happened like a year or 2 years or 3 years ago, right? When we started working with OpenAI 3 years ago, was the beta of GPT-3, and it did not do chat, it only did completion. So very different stack, very different offering. I think that you're significantly at risk if you're not leveraging those technologies, because a lot of what we do in revenue is being automated in greater efficiency. Okay, so we started off with the ability to write emails, do outreach, etc. I think that was the first things that we've seen with the AI. Very basic, but still very effective. I think the next part that we're seeing now is the ability to summarize. So how do you summarize a call? How do you summarize an opportunity? How do you summarize an account? And that's only internal before exposing it to the customer. I think that we're starting to see moving from how do you write an email, how do you summarize, whatever, then how do you use it as a tool within the sales process, okay? Where does the AI take the lead and then transfer to a live agent? And we're starting to see that in the call center BPO space and slowly moving up the stack to the B2B sales on certain aspects, right? Will it replace salespeople? Probably not. Would some of the functionalities and the jobs to be done be replaced with an AI? Absolutely. Do you still have a chance if you're ignoring that and just doing everything manually? You're going to have a much higher cost structure and much lower productivity, and that would be hard to maintain over time. So to your question, I think it's a must-have for any company that cares about productivity, cost savings, cost of sales, margins, all of the above. I think that the boundaries of the platforms are also shifting, right? So you used to have your content management system, used to be SharePoint, and then it moved into like HighSpot, MindTickle, etc. Then you used to have your learning management system, it used to be separate. Then you had your conversation intelligence, it used to be separate. And then someone came in and says, okay, this is a revenue platform that has all of this. Then you have outreach platforms like SalesLoft, Outreach, Gong, and others that does some of those functionalities. Then you can start seeing how those things starting to overlap. I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is that AI is disrupting those at a higher pace. So think about content management. We used to have everything in folders, right? So, or spots, if you're using a spot or whatever, a site, mini site that organizes content, and then you browse your way to it. Then we added search, and you can search for it. Now, it's almost like Gen AI is replacing search, and you just ask for the question and get the answer. So if that's the case, the importance of organizing the things in categories and tags and labels manually decreases, and the ability to just ask an interface that's either chat-based or voice-based to get the answer becomes much more prominent. So then should you go with more traditional players that were built, I don't know, 15 years ago that are purpose-built for sales, or should you go with a more general solution that is right now built AI-based? It's a consideration, right? Where is the boundaries between those? Are all considerations. I think that one concept that I think is still not being spoken about enough with everything AI is grounding it in your own data and thinking how you can integrate your data into the AI process. It's great that you have an AI that can write a haiku song about something, but if you want it to be productive for your organization, you have to put an emphasis on how this is being grounded in your own data. And I think that that's what CRM companies are doing, Salesforce, HubSpot, and others. And I think that's what the more advanced AI companies are doing as well. How do you take your own playbook and turn that into a role play with one click without doing any manual work? Because nobody has time to create those, and practicing just a generic cold call does not drive the value for your SDR team, or practicing a generic objection handling does not drive the value for your AE team. Does not work. You want to be personalized at the company level, then personalized at the rep level, right? How do I do a role play that prepares me for my next call for this specific opportunity with this specific buyer based on all of the history that we have in the CRM? That's interesting.